This is Fuad Abasov, a broker with Right at Home Realty. And this is your monthly real estate statistics. October just gave buyers more power than we have seen in years. Prices slipped again, inventory jumped, and the market quietly shifted. Here's the real story. Don't forget to subscribe for honest monthly GTA stats without the hype. I keep it transparent so you can make smarter decisions. Across the GTA, we recorded just over 6,100 home sales in October. New listings came in at little over 16,000, which is slightly more than last year, but down from September. Active listings stayed high at nearly 28,000 homes. This much inventory keeps the market in a balanced position, leaning a bit toward buyers. Homes took about 31 days to sell on average, which is longer than last year's pace. The average price for all home types settled around $1.05 million, down roughly 7% year over year. Toronto market continued to adjust, especially in detached homes. The average detached property in the city sold for about $1.62 million, down nearly 9% year over year. Buyers now have more negotiating room and more time to evaluate listings. However, well-priced, well-marketed homes still move quickly, proving again that presentation and pricing strategy matter more than ever. The 905 regions, including York, Peel, Durham, and Halton, followed a similar trend. Detached homes averaged around $1.26 million, also down year over year. There's simply more choice for buyers across the suburbs, which means competition among sellers is stronger than it was in previous fall markets. Townhomes and semis saw softer activity as well, while condos continue to lag behind the most. Condo sales were down nearly 10% year over year, and many units are taking longer to move. Buyers and investors are both more selective, focusing on good layouts, natural light, and convenient neighborhoods. Turnkey units in transit-focused areas still attract attention. Compared to September, the market cooled slightly. Sales dipped on a seasonally adjusted basis, and new listings also fell month to month, which is normal as we head toward the quieter winter season. Prices stayed mostly flat from September to October, but remained noticeably lower than last year. This doesn't mean the market is crashing, it's simply adjusting to higher borrowing costs and a more measured pace of buyer activity. So what does it all mean for buyers and sellers? For buyers, this environment is positive and they have a clear advantage right now. There's less pressure, more time to think, and more flexibility to include conditions and offers. If you're looking for a home, especially in the condo or townhome segments, this is one of the best opportunities in recent years to take your time and negotiate confidently. For sellers, pricing strategy is everything right now. Homes priced for last year's market are sitting longer and often require price adjustments. But listings that are priced properly and marketed with strong visuals, staging, and exposure still attract serious buyers. Presentation and accuracy are everything in this cycle. And now, let's take a closer look at detached home sales in Toronto and surrounding areas. In Toronto, average selling price of a detached home in October was $1.61 million, almost 10% down compared to last October. Sales were down by 8.2%, amount of new listings was up by 9%. On average, it took 24 days for a detached home to be sold in October in Toronto. In Vaughan, average selling price of a detached home in October was $1.59 million, 11.5% down compared to last October. Sales were up by 1.4%, inventory went up by almost 0.5%. On average, it takes 30 days for a detached home to be sold in Vaughan today. In Richmond Hill, average selling price of a detached home in October was $1.83 million, 7% decline compared to prices of last October. Sales went down by 23%, inventory went up by 7.5%. On average, it took 33 days for a detached home to be sold in Richmond Hill. In Mississauga, average selling price of a detached home in October was $1.35 million, 11% decline in prices compared to last October, 5% down in sales, inventory went up by 22.5%. On average, it takes 29 days for a detached home to be sold in Mississauga today. In Markham, average selling price of detached home in October was $1.61 million, 2.7% decline in sale prices compared to last October. Sales went down by 3.2%, inventory went down by 2%. On average, it takes 30 days for a detached home to be sold in Markham today. In Newmarket, average selling price of detached home in October was $1.16 million, 4.3% decline in sales compared to last October. Sales went down by 2%, inventory went up by almost 37%. On average, it takes 29 days for a detached home to be sold in Newmarket today. In Aurora, average selling price of detached home in October was $1.56 million. Compared to last October, prices went down by 12.4%. Sales were up by 19.5%, inventory went up by 30.5%. On average, it took 19 days for a detached home to be sold in Aurora in October. Innisfil, average selling price of detached home in October was $975,000. Compared to last October, prices went up by almost 12%. Sales are still the same as they were last October, inventory went up by 31%. On average, it took 37 days for a detached home to be sold in Innisfil in October. King City, average selling price of detached home in October was $2.34 million. Compared to last October, prices went down by 27%. Sales went down by 71%, inventory went up by 14%. On average, it took 36 days for a detached home to be sold in King City in October. In Bradford, average selling price of detached home in October was $1.09 million. Compared to last October, prices went down by almost 4%. Sales went down by 25.7%, inventory went up by 25.8%. On average, it took 35 days for a detached home to be sold in Bradford in October. In Milton, average selling price of detached home in October was $1.30 million. 1.67% increase in prices compared to last October. Sales went down by 9%. Inventory went down by 15.7%. On average, it took 33 days for a detached home to be sold in Milton in October. In Stoufville, average selling price of detached home in October was $1.42 million. Compared to last October, prices went up by 1.16%. Sales went up by 51.7%. Inventory went up by 37%. On average, it took 32 days for a detached home to be sold in Stoufville in October. In Barrie, average selling price of detached home was $828,000. Compared to last year, prices did not really change. Sales went down by 7.8%, inventory went up by almost 2%. On average, it took 33 days for a detached home to be sold in Barrie in October. Oakville, average selling price in October was $1.77 million. Compared to last October, prices went down by 7.6%. Sales went down by almost 9%, inventory went up by 3%. On average, it took 33 days for a detached home to be sold in Oakville in October. Looking ahead, November, December and early January will likely be slower, which is completely normal seasonally. Inventory should remain elevated, keeping the market balanced or slightly buyer-friendly. Prices are expected to stay stable month to month unless interest rate expectations shift dramatically. The big drivers for early 2026 will be employment trends and what the Bank of Canada signals about potential rate cuts. If you'd like to receive your own personalized sales report about home sales in your neighborhood, please call me at 647-801-3401 or email me at sold@fuadhomes.com. Thanks for watching and see you next month.